Good morning, everybody. How are you?
Well, we normally do that like, good morning, and then you go, and then we go, good morning, everyone. Good morning. That's not going to work today.
You should give yourselves a round of applause for turning up the first thing in the morning. So, session on PVS, PVS performance problems. If you want a treat, eat away. If there's a fire, go outside, etc., etc. We've got quite a lot of content to go through in a reasonably short time, so although we've got 40 minutes apparently rather than 30, so we're slightly better than I thought we were going to be. My name is Jim Moyle. I work for Atlantis Computing. I'm also CDP. That man over there playing with his phone and taking a photo of all you lovely people. Oh, smile, he's actually taking a photo. Hey, go on, let's light it up, yeah. We're not hungover really. That man there is Andy Wood.
Good morning, everybody. Yeah. Oh, come on, you could do better than that. Good morning, everybody. Morning. Have you got the thingy? Right. Carry on then.
Well, this is your introduction saying...
Oh, all right, yes, my name's Andy Wood. I'm also CTP, also work for Atlantis Computing, worked with Jim for a while. Or the monkey, because someone will ask.
Oh, I have to ask one.
Yeah, where's...
What is BST?
Sorry?
BTS?
BTS, the British Computer Society. Hands up if anyone is in, member of? No, just me, again, right, fair enough. So there's a different one. The expert, I filled in the form, Jim didn't. We're also members of the UK Citrix User Group. Hands up if you've been.
Excellent.
Good. Hope to see you again.
Well done, all
next event is the 6th of July, if you've a date free on your calendar. It'll be in London. We'd love to see you there. Crack on. So, stay tuned. We did actually toy. This session has been on Citrix Synergy TV. We did present it at Synergy. We did toy, given it was Sunday morning. Just playing the video. We dimmed the lights. Just sit back. We did like a director's cut. Yeah, but that's not how we roll. So we'll do this.
It's just how we wished we rolled. Project VLC State of the Union. They've run this survey, I think, the last 3 years, asking loads of questions to loads of people about end-use computing. I spoke to Jeroen. I said, "Oh, you're going to be doing it again this year?" And he said, "It's a lot of work." Well, that doesn't matter to me.
Yes. So what was interesting? So I trialled this in Edinburgh at one of the user group events and asked, and we got about this figure. So just in the room today, how many people are running PVS? Yeah, when we did it at Synergy, the entire room are about one guy. But then
it wasn't PVS. So MCS less than half PVS?
MCS people, MCS in the room, just one.
Yeah.
Actually, PVS, yes. MCS. Sorry about that.
Who is thinking about using MCS more seriously with the new announcements at Synergy over IO acceleration, etc.?
I was till I tested it.
If you would like to read a really...
Footy's not allowed while I'm drinking my tea, alright? That really came out of my nose.
If you want to know a lot more, some very interesting stuff about how badly Andy broke the new MCS.
By all means read Andy's blog. Don't do it now, we're on. So a question of scale. One of the reasons that we looked at this was because you're working on a number of projects.
Yes, so I just did a massive project, 85,000 users, 72,000 of those were stateless.
For an idea of scale, the Stadium of Light, which is Sunderland Football Club's stadium, holds about 48,000 people, plus change.
I'm pretty sure, seeing as this is actually a photo of Sunderland Football Club, that they photoshopped most of these fans in.
Didn't work as a gag last time, doesn't work now.
People laugh. Fine.
So many people. So many people send us for it. It's the horror and shock in your voice that I find most disturbing. If I could throw this out.
Wonder.
Move on. PVS architecture, given that there's so many of you probably notice this conceptual diagram of PVS bits. So the PVS farm's got a SQL database, got some storage in there somewhere, licensing server, because obviously you license all of your Citrix products appropriately. And then you'll have some provisioning servers on site A and provisioning servers on site B. What I like to think is that we're adding value throughout the entire presentation deck, and here I'm showing you Dan Feller's latest video slide deck. Video slide, templates even, got that entirely wrong, which you can get from here, and this is an updated PVS diagram.
So if your PVS performance problem was the fact that it took you too long to do Visio, we've already helped you.
Yeah, you're already sorted, you're already good to go. When you take a picture, we'll make the slides available for download as well if you want, with all the links together.
Yes.
Okay, cool. This is what we're going to focus. I borrowed this from someone, I can't remember where it was. When I find out where I borrowed it from, I'll give you the person due credit. Essentially, this is all the things that can be being delivered. These are all the components, Citrix components, and then likely you've got some home directory somewhere. And then you've got some storage and likely some networking. That'll be about £1,000 from a Citrix consultant. Just to explain what it is that you've got in a diagram that you probably already have.
We're not going to talk about any of this. One, because we've only got 34 minutes, and two, we're too late. So we're going to talk just about the VDisk on the servers and the write cache intelligence.
A bit of storage, a little bit of networking. If you wanted to talk about PVS performance problems elsewhere, come and see us at the end. We might do like a part 2 session or something else. Blog entries. Is that all right with you guys? If we focus on this, is that all good? Yes?
Yeah. Okay.
Let's go. So the first instance is getting the right PVS cache. I wasn't even drinking last night. PVS cache type. I did spend the night with 2 blondes though. Just saying.
I'm not even going to.
You're not going to even go with the mother and daughter combo.
Damn.
It's just
No. It's only 33 minutes.
Alright, usually I would spend more time describing what these other cache types are, but this is easily, you know what PVS cache types are, right? We're not going to talk about anything persistent, we're just going to concentrate on stateless. So people used to use cache to hard disk.
Just checking out, for PVS, non-persistent, hands up if you're doing non-persistent PVS. Most people. Anyone doing persistent PVS?
Not with PVD.
Some, just the one guy.
With PVD or not? Yeah, with PVD.
Alright, with PVD.
So nobody does persistent without PVD, which is probably good.
And some people use PVD, you should have got drunk a lot. Because PVD. Anyway.
Friends don't let friends use PVD.
No.
So people used to use cache on device hard disk all the time, that was the de facto standard. Caching device RAM has had a potted history. Before PVS 5 it used to crash and lose your data. Then between PVS 5 and 7 it just used to crash, which is better than crashing and losing your data, right?
Improvement.
Improvement, yeah. We'll talk about cache and RAM overflow in much more detail in a second. Cache Observer, everybody used to use that for testing. Previously, a lot of people were using Cache Observer and they didn't know, because Cache Observer is the default for PVS. If you've got a problem with your write cache type, it will default back to Cache Observer. And I've seen many people have performance issues because they weren't using the right cache type.
Yeah,
but they didn't know.
Yes, we've had a number of instances where all performance will be patchy. Yes, sir, question. Quick question, Mike, we've only got 30 minutes.
If you use 2008 and you choose the warm and you configure your disk with GPT, it doesn't work.
Okay.
Okay.
Good tip, top tip.
Good tip. We'll add that in. Come and see us at the end. We'll give you a nod.
Recently, Citrix have added in the ability to see which cache type you're using on beat of the VM, which is kind of handy.
Yes.
So you know what you're doing. Caching RAM overflows to hard disks. So a lot of people think everything goes to RAM when it's full up, then it goes to disk. This is not quite true. The cache RAM part uses the non-paged memory pool. This is a very good idea for Citrix, right? Because it means that that area of system memory cannot be paged to disk. So if you're relying on that for performance, not paging that area of memory to disk is a very good idea. But see here we have the page file already on disk now. Citrix PVS automatically configures this.
Yeah, we did. There were some discussions with people in a room going, what's the registry keys in order to move my page file from my C drive onto my, you don't need to do anything like that, does it automatically?
Yep.
If you are considering.
If you are in a situation where your users are using very large files, so oil and gas, media, other verticals tend to work with very, very large files. you will probably be paging a lot in that situation. So if the size of a document is larger than the size of available RAM, you'll be using virtual memory. If you're in that situation where you're paging a lot, you need to make sure that your storage underneath your page file is sized correctly. Otherwise, again, you can run into performance problems because that is never ever in RAM.
And you can blue screen, which some people don't realize, right? Once they run out of page file.
Yes, yes. So, I mean, many people pin their page file, that's fine, but just be careful about that because you can have application problems when you run out of virtual memory. Overall file. In this, they changed the format. What used to be a hidden .write cache file is now a .vhx file.
As of 7.8.
Earlier.
7.7.
7.
Is it 7.7?
Yes.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. See?
Okay.
Well, then
It was 7 because it was that's when.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah. See. The block size of this file has changed. It used to be 4K, it is now 2 meg, so it's now expands in 2 meg chunks. Now, there was some interesting stuff that I heard the other week, saying that if you defrag your disk before you create the VDisk, then it slows down the growth of this overflow file, which I haven't tested.
No, I've seen that a number of times. Always a good idea prior to committing your image to defrag. It also allows it to be served out more easily.
Don't get split IO.
Don't get split IO.
So if you're moving from cache to device hard disk to overflow, then be careful about the size of this write cache disk because it will need to be bigger than you're used to because of the extra growth of the VHX file. Space for mini dump, possibly, maybe AD definitions, log files. I've seen all kinds of shit people have put on here.
Yeah, for a laugh we started there. Who's seen the weirdest kind of shit in the PVS write cache? And genuinely, we do not have enough time. I'm sure you've all got great stories. I would say seemingly bar afterwards, but I think we're at that point of time in Italy where the bar afterwards just seems like a horrendous idea. So we'll talk about that later. So yes, this is all well and good, but how do you get the sizing right? How do you know how much RAM? You don't want to overcommit your RAM because then you're taking away resources. Yeah, you don't want to undercommit your RAM because then you're going to be paging a lot to disk and there's going to be performance impact on that. We'll talk about that later. Many people say, well, it's non-page memory, so I'll just look at non-paged. That'll be nice and simple. This is from Task Manager. This is without it on. This is like your base.
Yeah.
This is the amount of non-page pool I'm going to run.
About 100 meg is what Windows uses.
So people go, so I'll just look at that. That'll do. Other people have other opinions on that. For example, your man in the room says, that's not the best way of looking at it. Surely there could be a better way of looking at it, and it was Andy's prompting that brought Citrix to go, actually there is a better way of doing this. Windows Performance Analyzer. I realise this tool's possibly been talked about already this week. Hands up if you were in the session where it was talked about.
No.
Fuck that. Right, okay, so Windows Performance Analyzer, there was a blog entry, by all means you can take a picture of it, but we'll try and put all of this up, where they talked about using WPA in order to work out how often you were writing out to disk in order to look at the RAM. You can download it, it's a free tool as part of the development kits. Nice, so Windows Performance Toolkit, let's just do that. And then if you look at this particular blog entry, download this file, which is the profile, so the PVS team have written a load of tags, information that allows you to interpret the data that you record in Windows Performance Analyzer and present it back, specifically looking at the PVS usage. Next one. Installation is very simple. It's a couple of 100 meg, would fit into one of your goal images. Absolutely no problem.
That was a good accent you did there.
Absolutely no problem. What I couldn't find was the generic events, which it talks about in the documentation. Maybe I'll stick this as a video so you can see what's going on. But you look at the generic events in your own time. And what that'll then give you is all the times that you're writing out to disk, how long you're writing out to disk for, how long that process takes, how often that you're doing it. So now you've got a massive amount of detail and information. Next slide. Not only for PVS cache RAM types, but for anything that you're looking at, any application where you're looking to improve the performance of it, any application who's maybe using too much RAM, or maybe it's using too much CPU, you can get an impressive amount of detailed information. We were at Bri Forum, then
Ian, I can't remember his last name.
Ian, I can't remember his last name, did a great presentation on WPA, and he says it's a fantastic tool just for having it on your desktop all the time. He says it makes you look dead busy. Because you've just got this graph going through with all this information on it, it's absolutely fantastic, and then you just flip around and do your fantasy football scores or whatever. But a very impressive tool.
So my problem with WPA is not how effective it is, but
It's got a graph on it, you love that
I
shit.
do love graphs, that's true. It's effectively information overload. Yeah? If you're just looking to find out what's inside your write-cache file, maybe something much simpler and more effective would be better. So I wish somebody had wrote that.
It's lucky that you asked, Jim, because somebody did. Andrew and Remco wrote a small utility, which is free. You can download it from this link. You can take pictures of the link if you like. The slides will be available. You can download it later. That look specifically at the PVS RAM cache size and metadata. So it's not just about the memory that's being used in order to store this information, but the metadata around it, which also can be made use of. And then you can stick a registry entry in that says, by the way, I use this much for my PVS write cache. How much that percentage I've used, and now you can monitor at scale, nice and easy, just using those perf mon counts.
If you work for a monitoring vendor, although I've just said that this is free to use, you can't go and steal that code and stick it in your own application and say, yay, look at me.
No, but if you were
I'm
making
sure we took care of it.
I'm sure if you did have any of the PVS versions that were making use of that, downloading this tool and putting it into your gold image build is a definite recommendation and thumbs up.
Yes. This is IOTA. This is without PVS, this is a local SSD, it's fairly full, 11,000 IOPS, 1.4 milliseconds.
If you wanted to know how do we do IOTA testing for VDI, type in IOTA test, type in VDI, type in GIN. First link at the top from Google.
Don't even have to type in GIN?
No, you don't even have to type in GIN.
It's good.
That's the same test that we use if you wanted to repeat this methodology at home.
Yes. So,
I didn't get a chance because we weren't on half an hour later.
yeah.
All right. Anyway.
If you configure more than a gig of RAM, it pops up a warning for you. Say, be careful about how much RAM you're adding to this.
Definitely 7.8.
Yes.
7.7. There is a debate.
So whether this is still a thing in 7.9, we were just about to test it before we came on, but...
Yeah, we were told we were going to be on a half an hour later. We were like, we'll check that out. And then we didn't get a chance.
Yes.
So if someone wants to do it now and just validate it,
On their own PVS environment,
that'd be spot on.
before we finish, that'd be brilliant.
Yeah.
Why is this? Because if you're RAM constrained in your environment, if you do not have enough RAM, then effectively if you overcommit too much, you're going to be hypervisor is going to start paging.
Yeah.
And same as I said before, you don't want to be paging that memory because you're using it for performance. So if you are using cache RAM with overflow,
And you are overcommitting the memory of the VMs,
then you may be in trouble with hypervisor paging.
you are.
In terms of consistent performance. So be very careful around that. Just to show you, page file really is on the drive. So, in this we've actually configured a gig's worth of write cache. We've copied a gig file in there, and we can see that a gig of space is used.
Oh, just wait a second. I think here we said, here we're comparing pooled non-page bytes,
Yes.
which is how the uninitiated do it, and PVS RAM cache for all the intelligent people who've came to E2E. And
they've got the tool that shows you the real thing.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep. So this gig test file, so this is 100% in RAM, right? You're not using disk at all here. In 7.1, 20,000 IOPS, 0.7 milliseconds latency. Excellent. Not bad at all.
That's great. So that's removed I/O demand from my storage infrastructure and is just running it in RAM. Potentially happy days.
This is 7.8, massively better. 56 and a bit thousand IOPS, 0.3 milliseconds
I'm not
latency.
saying exactly that it's double in every single instance. Just when we tested on one environment and we tested on another environment, we saw an impressive increase in numbers, and that increased again in 7.9.
So I had a chat with the chief architect for PVS. Said, "That's cool. Why did that? Well, he says, oh, I didn't know about that."
Yeah. just the dev guy went, oh, I think I can make this better.
Yeah. He's like, I've got a driver guy. He doesn't really tell me what he's doing, so that's probably him.
Hey, so go then.
When you stick, even though you've got a gig of RAM, I've still got stuff on disk, right? And what's happening is effectively it's lazily writing all this data down to disk. So eventually, if you put a gig file in RAM, you'll have a gig file on disk as well. So this sort of proves that they're hacking the write from RAM. Yeah? So they're acknowledging from volatile storage. This means that you will never see this technology in use for persistent desktops. Because for a persistent desktop, you cannot act from volatile storage.
And that lazy write's going to be written down at some point in time, so there is a consideration for what that back-end storage can do.
Yep. Again, this grows a lot faster than you've previously seen, so be very careful around
So
that.
not only in terms of performance, but capacity as well.
Yep. Delete test file, frees up the RAM, excellent, well done, Citrix.
And in previous releases, that didn't go all the way down to the bottom.
Yes, when I was testing in previous releases, sometimes it didn't always free up all the RAM. I couldn't recreate that on later versions, so again, got better.
Got better.
10 gig test file. So we tested 1 gig, which is purely in RAM. 10 gig now. So now we're definitely in an overflow situation. So we've filled up that 1 gig with RAM. You can see, and now we get 1500 IOPS.
Now, how do you change? So the 10 gig comes from I Imager?
Yes.
Yes.
So
It's a random stuff. So
Yes. So if you're using the latest IOMEter,
because if everybody tries it at home, right? If your file is not turned, then you'll have artifacts, right? So,
okay.
Thanks for your input there.
1500 IOPS, 10 millisecond latency. You do not get the performance of the underlying storage when you overflow to disk. Very important. If you expect that, if you've got SAN or even SSD, and you think, well, that can do that many IOPS, and I'm in an overload situation, I'll get that many IOPS. You will not.
You'll get.
About 3 to 4x less than the storage can provide.
But if you had really crap underlying storage, it goes crapper, right? But yeah.
Yeah. Now, I'm not saying that this happens just when there's data in that file. This is when your active set of working data is larger than your cache type. Yeah? It goes horribly wrong. So you need to be very careful about sizing this cache. It's probably better to set it to 0, which you can do, and it just totally disables the RAM cache. So if you were to set it to 0, if you've got cache on device hard disk, you want to avoid ASLR issues, although we'll talk about later.
Anyway, carry on.
You can, in fact, it's a supported configuration to set RAM to 0. So that's an interesting thing, and you do not get this issue because it completely bypasses the RAM cache. So I'll be very careful if you've got customers or saying, well, I've got a little bit of RAM spare on that host. New cache type, I can assign a small amount of RAM and that will just help a little bit with my PVS environment. It will not. You will hit this problem. So be very careful about doing a very small amount of RAM in terms of performance addition. Thank you. Where's the test file up? So there we are, 10 gig VH6 file, lazily written down.
Cool. So lazily written down. Now, when Citrix introduced RAM with overflow hard disk, it was not to make I/O better. It was to fix a very specific issue. Just go back a slide because it's below. Oh no, it's at the bottom. It was to fix this issue, ALSR. So Microsoft introduced this as a thing for Vista. Right, given that we were having fun with versions. So essentially, whenever you loaded something into memory, it always went to the same place. So if I wanted to attack something, I would punch it. If I wanted to throw a flare on it, then what I'd do is I'd know exactly where it is. So ASLR moves that around, random places, so your attack vector should be less. Excellent from a security point of view, but from a PVS point of view, a nightmare. Because now you're moving stuff around in memory, and it's on page, so it might not work properly.
So if you are on 6.5, yep, and for whatever reason you cannot get to higher versions,
7.9.
yeah, and
You are coming across random application
crashes, yes, particularly network delivered applications. It's probably the ASLR issue. You can turn it off. You can turn ASLR off. I am not recommending you do this because it's security, right? But as part of the enhanced mitigation experience toolkit, this may be able to get you out of a hole before you upgrade in terms of if you're having application crashes. You can turn off ASLR on the whole system, but you can also turn it off on a per process basis. So if you have a particular application that's suffering from application crashes, you can't get up to a higher version, you can turn it off on the process basis, and that will help you out.
Although we don't recommend that you turn it off, please don't tweet. Andy and Jim recommend we turn off all security on our environment in order to make it work better. Do not. Right. Well, you can't make that. Don't press that. Virtualized provisioning services. We talked about this, or we stuck it in because we thought there were a couple of people, or a number of people who hadn't virtualized PVS, and yet when we've actually gone out into the field, we found that that's not necessarily true. Definitely at Synergy, when we asked how many people hadn't virtualized PVS,
there was a handful,
really,
tiny bit
out of the audience.
Now,
just yeah. Right.
No,
if you're saying that looks non-big point.
Calibration for this answer, right?
Uh-huh.
You should have asked what size of your environment, what kind of environments you're running. And ask those people
I wasn't running a survey, this was just stick your hand to the audience.
This is a bit of audience interaction in order to make it flow along nicely.
Sit down if you've got less than 250 users.
Don't criticise my data gathering methodology.
Given that we have
You're absolutely right. It's very formal. It's very formal. Large environments are still sticking to physical PVS.
large environments, I tell you what, given that E2E gets a good cross-section of people doing large and small environments, let us the audience, shall we? Audience, how many people have virtualized their PVS servers? Or actually, how many people haven't virtualized their PVS servers?
So there are customers where I still have physical systems.
So, but you're the only person putting your hand up at the moment, right? And for all of those who haven't done it yet, are they the really big customers, or are they small customers, or is there a mix?
They're huge and paranoid.
Right, so validate your point, we can move on.
So the 85,000 user projects that I was talking about earlier on at the top of the deck, that's all virtual.
But we come on to why that might be everyone here. So let's move
Bottlenecks in your environment. Look at bottlenecks. One new network will do about 20,000 bytes at a 4K block size in real life. And if you know this, you can say, well, I can tell my network bandwidth. I know if I know how many IOs I'm using, tell my network bandwidth. This is rubbish. Because although everybody says that Windows is a 4K block size, it isn't just a 4K block size. Alex, before you say anything about that, just
figures on this.
So, Windows block size, this is 4K. So this is exactly why people say 4K, right? It's by far the most likely block size. But there are many others. This is logarithmic scale, so that's 8, 16, 32, etc., all the way up to 1 meg. Now, PVS will actually truncate the block size. You won't get a 1 meg block size when you're using PVS, but throughput happens, even though it's only a very small amount of I/O at the large block sizes. You can see that's got a massive effect on throughput. You've only got a small spike here at 4K. So you cannot say Windows desktops are 4K, I've got 50 IOPS, this is my network bandwidth, because of these block sizes. So be very careful around trying to do that sort of calculation when you network, see people do it. I'm going to be faster. So 25 PVS VMs, BDM ISO, and we're looking at network bandwidth, and we're looking at I/O. BDM read, nothing. This is on big. The reason being is because vSphere's cached the ISO on the host. This is bandwidth from the PVS server, so reads from the PVS server. This double read, this double sort of spike here is very classic of a Windows big process. You got this flat bit before. This is effectively before Windows starts. Right? This is the preview execution environment. And you can see that the drivers here aren't as good as the Windows drivers, so hence this is very flat in terms of throughput coming down from the PVS server. Reads underneath the vDisk on the PVS server itself. Again, 0. Why is it 0? It's because we have sized it correctly. And we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail in a second. Right cache reads, very small in terms of boot. And the right cache writes. Now this is cache on device hard disk, not overflow, so effectively so I can see what's going on and measure it, right? But that's your write, very classic. So what we're having here, 25 VMs, we're hitting 120 meg per second, which is just over, so 128 megs a second is 1 gig. Yeah. Forgot my word.
Yeah.
What's possible, right? In reality, you get less than that. So 25 VMs on boot will effectively saturate a 1 gig network, right? If you've got less bandwidth, this will take longer and your performance will suffer. And if you use a cache like this, make sure you can cope with this 6,000 IOPS, right? From just 25 VMs on boot. Yes.
Yes. So, yeah, this is a common question. We do get it a lot. For my PVS servers, I just need really fast disks. Yeah, that'll make everything better. Fast disks makes everything better, obviously. But not necessarily all of the time. Same. For PVS environments, RAM is the primary consideration here, because essentially you're going to be sucking it from. I nearly went the other way there, and that could have been really rude. Sucking it from disk into RAM and then serving out for RAM. The more RAM that you've got in your PVS server, the better. How do I know if I've got the right amount of RAM? These two values. Again, Civic Sport article that's detailing this and giving you the science behind just because we've got 10 minutes left. But it's not just the RAM that I've got in the server, it's like how am I effectively using that RAM? I/O data operations per second and copy read hits. We want to make sure that the file cache that we're making use of, is that me or is that you?
I'm trying to work that out actually.
It's not me. This is going to look weird on the video. Your man's taking pictures of the back as well. It's like, should we just do it again?
Yeah, but
Not in sync. No boy band for fuck's sake.
Although we do look young and handsome up here a bit.
Two stools, white suit, we'd be sorted. Those are values to have a look at to make sure that you're making use of that file cache RAM effectively.
There is an equation.
There is an equation for this. So what's interesting about the equation, I think, is it talks about Windows 7 and Windows XP. How many people do Windows 8? All right, okay. It was a massive yawn from somebody as well. So I'm going to go to me. I'm going to try standing very still.
Okay.
Windows 10 was talked about a lot. So Jerome did it earlier on in the week. There are a number of sessions from Synergy that talk about deployment of Windows 10. I'd be intrigued to see whether or not this value is the same. Maybe it's a loose connection on here.
I think it might be a loose connection on there.
And these what do you use? Yeah, the ground probably stuff.
There we go.
Now it just doesn't work.
I've got rid of one problem and introduced another one. Anyway, whether or not this stuff out, but it's still
That's PVS all over.
We're here all week trying to fail. Right, next slide. So what is also interesting in the newer releases from 7.7, pretty sure, this is your standard stack. Yes, which this whole process actually is a nice diagram that's detailed on this nice way. So effectively, from a PVS point of view, get my IP address, bootstrap download, log on to the PVS server. Are you? Yes, I'm you. Hooray! You can have an image. Then it goes into single read mode, and then the BNI stack kicks in from 7.7. If you assign 2 CPUs to all of the VMs, they will boot a lot quicker because this process was able to make use of 2 CPUs. That's not to say that it'll get even quicker if you add in 4 or 8. It's limited to 2, but improve the amount of vCPU, or increase the amount of vCPUs beyond 1, and you'll get a faster longer time.
You remember that flat line that I said, this is the pre-boot execution environment? This will help with that.
Cool. But that's not to say, and we have touched on this a couple of times, storage isn't important. You as admins are going to be spending time and effort updating your builds, creating your builds, modifying environments to meet your business needs. So you've got a number of tasks and activities that if you've updated PVS and have a fast underlying storage environment, then you're going to get benefit from that because the time taken to do those activities should be reduced. As for example, Dane did some great articles on this, and we reference it at the bottom, where he compared 7.6 to 7.7 and then 7.8 later, and the different types. So this is your classic 7.6 and maybe earlier. using VHD. In 7.7 that improved again, and when he moved to his VHDX type, there was a significant reduction in the merge time.
So it should be very easy for you guys to move from VHD to VHDX for your golden image, because you've all got them automated, right? Everybody's got the automation of the installation of the golden image. Yeah.
We'll talk about that later as well. So yes, use late versions, use the latest update, but also bear in mind that underlying storage for the PVS, getting that performance right, and that performance good, can reduce this amount of time. There was a consideration about CPU time and how many instances I can deliver at the same time. Jeff did a great article on this in terms of PVS ports, number of PVS ports, where he increased that number of ports and he could increase the, improve the average boot time.
Yeah, so this is all about how many clients you can simultaneously have on a
Which
single
goes back
PVS
to your,
server,
which
right?
goes back to your point on the number of PVS servers that I need. Potentially you can reduce the number of PVS servers that I need by serving more efficiently.
So, hyperconverged. I quite like hyperconverged for desktop environments. In fact, that very large project I did, all the infrastructure is on hyperconverged. I quite like it because there's less stuff there essentially. Any time you introduce a layer, then you've got the possibility of queuing. Yeah, you have a sparsity of resources. You're asking for more than they can provide. You get a queue. Queues introduce latency. Latency is bad.
So moving to an HCI infrastructure, that's a bit weird. Moving to an HCI environment.
Like a pin number on it.
It improves that, and now Citrix have vendors that they are working with, like Atlantis Computing, but others are available if you really need to. They can help deliver that environment within Citrix. Synchronize your base images. So this was an interesting one. Given that people have quite often introduced virtualized PVS instances, quite often they are local, quote unquote, with all of the VDisks stored within that local image, and then they're doing something to replicate it around. We would like, as a feature, that replication piece to be in PVS as a button rather than using different utilities. We did ask that of the team that was at Synergy in the session, and he wrote it down, so I'm sure it's being worked on as we speak. Top men.
Beavering away.
By the man himself.
He definitely nodded and said yes. I'll run the video back. We'll check. What have you got in the meantime? While they're writing that, while the top men are busy beavering away, I think you've got Robocopy or DFSR. Both have their benefits. I've got 2 minutes. Both have their benefits. Personally, I use Robocopy. Anyone using DFSR? It's complicated. You've got to get your AD right, I think.
I had a customer who bought Milio purely just.
Did you? Then apparently.
Melio was brilliant for synchronizing your VDIS. Quite brilliantly. Then Citrix bought it, didn't use it for that trend. Somebody else didn't work, and then they shake-handed.
Yeah.
And new sessions.
Well, it did work, but it's a different story.
It did work, but the link releases. Anyway, pods.
Pod-based architecture. I do like this for performance because you're reducing your performance domain and you're keeping, you can keep everything as local as possible. So what we did is we did 3 blade chassis per rack. Took 2 blades out of each for hyperconverged. For management. So basically all the PVS servers, vCenters, absolutely everything. And then the rest of the blades were for desktops. So this means that the only traffic coming out of this rack is effectively ICA and management traffic. Everything else is local to the rack. And this is 1,000 users on each blade chassis, so this is a 3,000 user pod, completely self-contained. Yeah? There's even, now, depending on your licensing, you may or may not be able to do this, but there's even a vCenter per chassis. Yeah?
But the hypervisors are available.
But we didn't use all the hypervisors, we used vCenter.
I think that's our last point in 50 seconds or less, is essentially all of these environments, PVS, yes, can have issues. Quite often an issue is managing that PVS build, that gold image. Yes, it's all well and good that PVS is much better than MCS at managing versions, but how are you getting the initial version in and then maintaining that version over time? Ideally, automate that environment. There's some great blogs, the Zenap blog site has a great walkthrough of using a kit. in order to automate the provisioning of that initial build and then maintaining that build over time. I would recommend that you check it out.
If you're going to do a pod-based architecture, you need to automate the hell out of it, right?
Yeah. So anything that, all of the processes that can be automated should be brought in.
One last point, not to do with PVS.
Because we're finished.
Yes.
Wow.
Bang on time. Andy, I, and a few other community members are running Tough Mudder for charity on the 24th of September in London.
Tell everybody what Tough Mudder is.
Tough Mudder is a breeze of a race. You can stroll it
It's mainly flat.
with some electricity.
Yes.
Yes.
Just
Does
a
everybody- am I-
surge.
It's the worst experience of your life.
This from a lady who came downstairs and goes, I just want to die. I just want to die.
So if you wish to do charity's Alzheimer's